Welcome back to Coming This Summer. I am your host, Ryan Superbad Sharp. Alone today. Bean is under the weather, let's say. We don't know what it is yet. Probably just the basic flu. But I have watched 2 hours more than I ever thought I would have of Lord of the Rings. 2 hours of extra content, and I'm okay if the show ends there. Because after getting what came after Lord of the Rings, which is what actually came before Lord of the Rings, which is The Hobbit, I'm cool for anything that's in this world that isn't that. So if you give me elves, dwarves, and hobbits in any fashion, I'm kind of there for it. So this show leads me to my review of The Rings of Power. Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power, officially dropped on Amazon Prime with 2 episodes to premiere the season. This feels, if you've ever watched Game of Thrones, obviously the original Lord of the Rings shows, they did Netflix did a very specific thing with the Dark Crystal series where they did like a sort of series behind it, like a TV televised series where it's all these different parties and factions and they all come together at the end, which is kind of similar to this show and how it's being presented. At least you get all these different cast of characters, and you're introduced to all of them. One is obviously Galadriel from the Lord of the Rings series, and Elrond, 2 elves we are very well acquainted with from the past or future series, I guess, because this is a prequel. I don't know how long in the past it's set. It's before the rings. It's before Celebrimbor makes the rings, and Sauron makes his ring, so... Well, he doesn't make his ring, but you know what I mean. I assume it's pretty far in the past that we're not going to really get any other ties other than some dwarvish names, some hobbit characters we might know because they typically live a little longer, and then the elves, which live for centuries. So it makes sense that we're getting the younger versions of the future characters that we've gotten in the series. Before? After? It sucks, to be honest, but it definitely feels like all these individual pieces are being set up on a board to one day hopefully come together and clash all these storylines within each other. It's very similar to season 1 of The Witcher, the Dark Crystal show on Netflix. Lots of kind of resembles a lot of what Netflix does with their series adaptations of things. So it kind of makes sense that Amazon is taking a streaming competitor's approach to reviving a specific property, an IP that is very well known. But this show does it better, I think, than any other show previously, and that's not. I can't speak on the show's behalf, like how good it is or not, because I don't know yet. I'm liking it, but it's not really like capturing a lot of my attention. I find myself kind of tapping my foot, checking my watch, whenever the episode prolongs. They're both an hour long each, and coming off the heels of some of the MCU shows that are like 30 to 40 minutes, I'm kind of preferring that as opposed to House of the Dragon and now Lord of the Rings being both an hour to 40-minute long episodes of pretty just info dumps. Like, it's not bad because these obviously are 2 series that it's become a House of the Dragon and Lord of the Rings review, but it's fine. These 2 series are just starting for the first time, both having previously been established properties, but now are having to bring in new characters, bring in new cast and stories, and tell a different tale than they have before. And I think both are doing a good job at reusing things we're familiar with, but also executing on doing things the start of a season on another show might not typically do. Both episodes were very much get to know these characters, who these characters are, what adventures they're going to be starting on throughout the season, and the relationships they'll be forming throughout as well. So my early review is that it's good. I think everybody should watch it. The budget of this show speaks volumes while watching it. You can count the dollar signs as you're looking at the individual scenes. They're just spectacles. Every scene is that it cuts to is just this breathtaking, amazing shot. In the second episode, they go to this Doran's dwarvish cave temple, whatever, city's the word, and it's just amazing looking. It just looks amazing. And when you put $50+ million into every episode, it's gonna look better than Game of Thrones does currently, or better than even The Hobbit did, or the original Lord of the Rings, obviously, but just the fact that they dumped so much fucking money into this series is, I think, a reason why everybody should go watch it. And it's not just like a pay-to-win thing. It's like, obviously, if they've spent more money on it, obviously it's going to look better than most other shows currently. House of the Dragon doesn't look terrible. It's just, it's HBO. They're usually better than most other shows, but it's still not a movie. It's still not the level of a movie budget. And I know House of the Dragon has a very high budget, but it's not $50 million plus per episode. This series, I think, has the combined budget of both Avengers movies combined, like Endgame and Infinity War combined for the entire series, And who knows how many episodes it is. I'm sure I can find it somewhere. But I kind of want to talk about Amazon Prime a little bit and how it's like the underdog streaming service. And now I love Amazon Prime because I've never watched, I don't think, any series on Amazon before because who's needed to. I think I watched Invincible a little bit. I've never seen The Boys. And other than that, this is now their big get is the Lord of the Rings show. And I love Amazon Prime, the streaming as a streaming service. The the layout sucks, but when you pause it, it like brings up the actors on who's on screen and like their character name, their exact character name, who plays them. It's fucking amazing because every time I'm watching something, I'm doing that on my phone. I'm looking up who's playing this actor or who's playing who. So I'm really kind of happy that Amazon is just like, pause. This is the characters on screen. Here's their names. Here's who plays them. Fine. Now, as I was saying before, we do get to see the hobbits, the elves, the dwarves, the the humans, all the, Battle of the Five Armies, all the different races and stuff. But there's one specific character that I'm a little hung up on, and it's one of the hobbits. And at the end of the first episode, a man falls from space, a la Charlie Cox, Stardust, the greatest movie of all time. And one hobbit finds him, and her name's Eleanor Nori, and I don't know if it's the actor who plays this this hobbit kid, but I don't know if I'm a big fan, and I suspect they're supposed to be the main character of the series, even though the main character is obviously Galadriel, and we're getting the story through her eyes, but then there's obviously other characters that we have to focus on. So I think this Nori Hobbit chick is supposed to be the main focus of the Hobbit world in this series, and I'm really not buying it, especially because the past two Hobbits we've gotten have been pretty fucking rad. Frodo and Bilbo are both dope, by the end of the series. So I really hope Nori levels up. Obviously she's just a fucking hobbit from a farm. So hopefully by the end, get some magical adventure and whatnot. But I know I keep bringing it up, and I know nobody watched it, but Netflix doing their Dark Crystal show, it reminds me of a lot of what this is trying to do. Reignite an old thing with new characters that nobody recognizes that we have to make cool so we can bring them together by the end. So by the end of this season or series, I do expect a lot of these characters to have crossed paths. I'll say the coolest cameo, the coolest appearance of the biggest hype moment ever throughout the series. It's only episode 2, and I don't care. Nothing will top it. Is when Celebrimbor, the forger of the Rings of Power, shows up in the fucking series. And if you've played Shadow of War and Shadow of Mordor, the two the EA games for video games, it's on PC and everything, but Celebrimbor is a big player in that, having his spirit within Talion. Is that his name? The main character of that game? I don't fucking remember. It's been a while. But yeah, I was super pumped when he shows up, and the guy who plays him kind of looks how you would picture Celebrimbor to be. So it's really fucking weird. But I love the name drops. I love the references. I like being back in the world. I like being back in this world more than I do the Game of Thrones world, mostly because this is more of like an adventure than Game of Thrones is more like a soap opera political drama show. But that being said, I will be back every week with another episode of Lord of the Rings: The Rings of Power review, breakdown, reaction, whatever you want to call it. We're coming back with episodes 2 and 3 of House of the Dragon. I think this weekend, maybe? I'm not sure. Maybe we'll have to do 4 also. She-Hulk drops tomorrow. By the time you're watching this, we're posting this on Wednesday, so if you're not watching on Wednesday, sorry. She-Hulk tomorrow. And Andor, the Cassian Andor show, one of the Rogue One guys, is getting his own show, and that is dropping, I believe, tomorrow? Because I think tomorrow is Disney Plus Day, which means we'll be getting Thor 4 on Disney Plus. We'll be getting a bunch of shows. Hopefully Buzz Lightyear Star Command. Watch that show, please. Yeah. So if you like, leave a like. Make sure to comment. Tell me what you thought about Lord of the Rings. I'm liking it so far. I can't really think of anything negative. Just some concerns, I think I can say. Yeah. Anyway, you're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome.